Before any ships from Europe crossed the vast Atlantic Ocean, North America was already filled with music. This was the music of the Native American peoples. Their songs were woven into the very fabric of their daily lives. Music was not just for entertainment, it was a vital part of their ceremonies, their storytelling, and their spiritual beliefs. A song could be a prayer for a good harvest. It could be a story about the creation of the world. It could be a rhythm to guide dancers in a sacred ritual. These melodies and rhythms connected them to their ancestors, to the land, and to the spirits they honored. It was a music as diverse as the many tribes that inhabited the continent. The sound of this early music was deeply connected to the natural world. Instruments were crafted from materials found in the surrounding environment. Drums, the heartbeat of so many ceremonies, were made from stretched animal hides and hollowed logs. The sound of the drum was powerful and resonant, a pulse that could be felt as much as heard. Flutes, often made from wood or bone, produced haunting melodies that seemed to echo the sound of the wind whistling through the canyons. Rattles, filled with seeds, pebbles, or shells, created a percussive sound that mimicked the rustle of leaves or the hiss of a snake, keeping time and adding texture to the chants. The vocal styles of Native American music were incredibly varied. Some nations used high-pitched, tense singing, while others favored a more relaxed and open-throated style. Often the singing was communal, a shared experience where many voices would join together in unison or in complex call and response patterns. The melodies were often based on short, repeating phrases, creating a hypnotic and powerful effect. These songs were passed down through generations, a living library of history and culture preserved not in books, but in the memory and voices of the people. Each note carried a weight of tradition and a deep sense of place. For the countless indigenous communities spread across what would one day be called Canada, the United States, and Mexico, music was a fundamental way of understanding their place in the universe. It was a way to mark the changing seasons, to celebrate births, to mourn the loss of a loved one, and to record the great deeds of their heroes. It was a practical tool and a sacred art form all at once. This music, born from the forests, plains, and deserts of North America, was the continent's first original soundtrack. It was a profound and enduring legacy that would become the foundation upon which all other musical traditions would later be built. The arrival of European settlers in the 16th and 17th centuries brought a dramatic change to the soundscape of North America. These newcomers carried their own musical traditions across the ocean, packed away in their memories and in the cases of their instruments. From England, Scotland, and Ireland came a rich collection of folk ballads and fiddle tunes. These were songs that told stories of love, loss, and adventure, melodies that had been danced to in villages for centuries. The fiddle, portable and expressive, became a central instrument, its lively tunes filling the halls of new settlements and lonely cabins on the frontier. The settlers also brought their church music, hymns, and psalms that offered comfort and community in a strange new land. At the same time, another, more tragic migration was taking place. Africans were forcibly brought to the Americas as slaves. They too carried their music inside them, a cultural inheritance that could not be taken away. Their musical traditions were rich with complex rhythms, call-and-response singing, and a deep sense of improvisation. In Africa, music was deeply integrated into every aspect of life, from work to worship. They brought instruments like the banjo, which had its roots in West African stringed instruments like the akonting. They brought a way of making music that was profoundly emotional and expressive, a voice for their sorrow and their hope. These two powerful streams of music, European and African, began to flow alongside each other. At first, they were often separate. In the churches of New England, congregations sang the stern and orderly hymns of their European homelands. In the fields of the South, enslaved Africans sang work songs, their voices rising in powerful, rhythmic chants that made the grueling labor more bearable. These songs were a form of communication and a source of spiritual resilience. They contained hidden messages of resistance and dreams of freedom, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit to create beauty, even in the darkest of circumstances. Slowly but surely, these distinct musical worlds began to intersect. A poor white farmer in the Appalachian Mountains might hear the unique, rhythmic sound of a banjo played by an African-American laborer and be captivated by it. An African-American musician might hear an Irish fiddle tune and adapt its melody to a new syncopated rhythm. In the bustling port cities and the quiet rural countryside, sounds began to mix. This was not a planned or formal process. It happened organically in dance halls, on front porches, and in community gatherings wherever people came together. It was the quiet, unheralded beginning of a new kind of music, a sound that could only have been born in North America. As the 19th century progressed, the mixing of musical traditions accelerated, creating a vibrant and uniquely North American sound. This was the era when the seeds planted by European and African influences began to sprout into new forms. In the Appalachian Mountains, the story songs and ballads from the British Isles blended with the mournful tones of the African banjo. This fusion gave birth to what we now call folk and country music. It was the music of everyday people telling stories of their lives, their struggles, and their triumphs. The fiddle, the guitar, and the banjo became the core instruments of this new sound, a sound that was both old and new at the same time. In the cities of the South, particularly in New Orleans, another powerful musical revolution was taking place. Here, African rhythmic sensibilities, Caribbean influences, and European brass band traditions collided in a spectacular explosion of sound. This was the birth of jazz. It was a music built on improvisation, where musicians would take a simple melody and reinvent it on the spot, creating something new and exciting every time. It was energetic, spontaneous, and deeply emotional. Early jazz pioneers like Buddy Bolden and later the great Louis Armstrong took the raw elements of ragtime and the blues and forged them into a sophisticated and globally influential art form. At the very same time, another profound music was rising from the Mississippi Delta. This was the blues. Born from the spirituals and work songs of African Americans, the blues was the most direct expression of their experience in America. It was a music of hardship and perseverance, sung over simple but powerful chord progressions. Using instruments like the acoustic guitar, often played with a bottleneck slide to create a sound that mimicked the human voice, musicians like Robert Johnson and Charlie Patton sang about lost love, hard times, and the hope for a better day. The blues was more than just a style of music. It was a feeling, a way of telling the truth. This period of intense musical creation saw the rise of iconic figures who would change the course of music forever. In Canada, musicians like the singer and folklorist Alan Mills worked to preserve and popularize traditional folk songs, ensuring that the country's unique musical heritage was not forgotten. Meanwhile, in the United States, figures like W.C. Handy, often called the father of the blues, helped to formalize and publish blues music, bringing it to a wider audience. These artists, and countless others like them, were not just entertainers, they were cultural innovators, shaping the very identity of the continent through their songs. The 20th century saw North American music take center stage and conquer the world. The blues gave birth to rock and roll, a rebellious and energetic sound that captured the spirit of a new generation. When Elvis Presley swiveled his hips and sang Hound Dog, he was channeling the raw energy of the blues singers who had come before him. He combined it with the storytelling of country music and created a sound that was irresistible to young people everywhere. Musicians like Chuck Berry and Little Richard laid the groundwork, blending blues structures with an up-tempo beat and electrifying guitar riffs that would define the genre for decades to come. While American music was exploding globally, Canadian artists were forging their own distinct path. They were deeply influenced by American styles like folk, country, and rock, but they often infused their music with a unique sense of place and a more introspective, poetic, lyrical style. Folk singers like Gordon Lightfoot wrote songs that felt like they were born from the vast, rugged landscapes of Canada, telling stories of the Great Lakes and the Canadian railways. Later, artists like Joni Mitchell and Neil Young would become international superstars, bringing a uniquely Canadian sensibility to the world of rock and folk music, proving that the northern half of the continent had its own powerful voice. The lines between genres continued to blur, creating an ever-expanding musical landscape. Country music, once the sound of the rural South, became a national phenomenon with stars like Johnny Cash, who sang with the grit of a bluesman and the soul of a folk poet. In cities like Detroit, Motown Records perfected a new kind of pop music, blending gospel, soul, and R&B into perfectly crafted hit songs that broke down racial barriers and topped charts around the world. Artists like Stevie Wonder and the Supremes created a sound that was both distinctly American and universally appealing. By the end of the 20th century, North American pop music was the dominant force in global culture. From the rock anthems of Bruce Springsteen to the pop perfection of Michael Jackson and Madonna, the music created on this continent became the world soundtrack. It was a long and complex journey, from the first sacred drum beats in the wilderness to the slickly produced pop songs broadcast on every radio station on the planet. This evolution is a testament to the power of music to cross boundaries, to tell stories, and to create something entirely new from the rich and diverse traditions of all the people who call North America home.